I'm usually in the camp of not giving a guy 1 year, but what I don't know is what's going inside. I said that about Wilkes in Arizona last year, but many people saying inside there it wasn't a good fit, and you could tell right away. I'm normally a guy that says, like in college, give a guy a recruiting class through at least 4 years. And in pros, I'm certainly not, 1 year and you're gone. But I'll be honest, I thought this was a bad hire from the start. I really think this trend, and we're seeing it, of hiring a guy because he's good for the quarterback, it's obviously it's hit and miss. And this one missed because you're taking a guy who was a running back coach. The only time he was a coordinator was when he was an interim coordinator after Hugh Jackson was let go. And then you made him the head coach because he fit well with Baker Mayfield. But that was kind of the thing that was going on. And I guess the point is you can work well with a quarterback, but then you've become the CEO of the team. Now you're running the team. So it's not just about the quarterback unless you're just going to say, hey, I'm the head coach. I'm just going to work with the quarterback. I'll get other people to do everything else. We know that's not how it works. I just think it was a bad hire to begin with. Never like to see 1 year and done, but just too many things going on for a team that you felt should have been a little better this year.
Well, and I think to your point, Mike, about a bad hire to begin with, it's always difficult when you start a revolving door at head coach. And look,
that's been
the
that
Browns
way
have
in Cleveland for decades.
But I always go back to my fandom, right? As a fan of the Raiders and having watched a rotating door at head coach, sometimes you feel like, man, when you don't have the guy, what do you do? And that's the hard line. Do you give somebody extra time if you know they're not the guy? Now the problem is if you look at the Browns' history, Freddie Kitchens, Hugh Jackson got 2 years, Mike Pettin got 2 years, Jasinski got 1 year. I mean, you don't get more than 2 years with Cleveland, so they have a history of doing this. But when
Judd, I think didn't even last a calendar year. I think it's 363 days.
When you know you don't have the guy, you make a change. I understand that, but what do you do when that's a constant rotating door? So it's sort of you're damned if you do and damned if you don't at this point.
Well, what did we say at the start of the season? We believe that there's a lot of talent on that Cleveland Browns football team, but it's going to be up to Freddie Kitchens to try and manage it. So going into this season, we all believe there was plenty of talent in Cleveland, and I still believe that. It just didn't come together, and whether it should be his responsibility or it shouldn't be, the bottom line is he's going to be blamed for it if they don't get successful. And the one thing that the thing that I felt Freddie might have lost his job was in that game against New England, where he changed his mind on what did he wanted to do on fourth down late in that game, and he took a penalty to avoid wasting a timeout in a situation where you have to know what you want to do. You have to know what you want to do.
He does. And listen, today it's Freddie Kitchens. But to your point, Jason, it's been a number of players. It's the 12th head coach since they returned to the NFL in 1999. The Haslams have now gone through 6 head coaches, including interim coaches, since buying the team in 2012. This is a poorly run organization that starts at the top. You can blame the head coaches that they hire. I get it. And they're not getting a lot of time. That's one thing. But they're also not being too successful either. So you can blame the head coaches. You could blame the personnel that's coming on in, even though this year with Dorsey and some of the moves he made, you thought, wow, okay, 7 wins last year, 7, 8, and 1. They're going to improve because they looked a lot better on paper. But then on the field, undisciplined, 4th in the league in penalties. They led the year a lot of the times in penalties. It's an undisciplined team. So Freddie Kitchens is the latest name we're saying, but this is a poorly run organization from the top. It's where I grew up. Listen, it doesn't make me feel good to say that about any team, but especially where I grew up. They're not run well from the top.
And the problem is, how do you fix it when the owners are simply bad at hiring? I mean, because that's what we're talking about here. They go through an interview process. They are bad at making a choice on who should run a franchise. So how do you fix that?
The other part of this is that it was John Dorsey's call, the general manager.
Yep.
He was there last year, and he saw, okay, I see the relationship with Baker Mayfield and Freddie Kitchens, and maybe this is how this is going to work. That's on more than
that's on John.
That's on John Dorsey.
Completely agree.
That's 100% on John Dorsey.
When I say from the top, I mean they're making the hires, whether it's
Correct.
a GM and then the GM to head coach, however it works. Because I agree, this was a swing and a miss for Dorsey. All the props we gave him for the personnel, which he deserves, this was a bad hire.
Yeah, listen, remember at the start of last year, Freddie Kitchens was the running backs coach. He went from running backs coach to being the offensive coordinator with the firing of Hugh Jackson interim, and then it's a quantum leap from being the quarterbacks or coach or the offensive coordinator basically to now running the whole shebang. And nothing against Freddie. He just clearly wasn't ready for the. He just wasn't ready, and we saw that on display time and time again.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports and analysis, download the ESPN app, and for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN Plus.